What is going on, guys? Welcome to the live, and this is, of course, Quarantine Car Talk. And today's topic is going to be something that is very, very important to people that want to modify their cars and are looking to take it to a shop or do outsourcing of their work. And the topic is going to be, how can you pick the right performance shop? What are some do's and don'ts? What can you look for? And how to best find a shop that will do competent work and good work on your vehicle. So stick around as we get more people coming in the next few minutes. We're going to give it a couple minutes, and then we'll go dive it right into the topic. And as you guys are coming in, make sure to say hi, and hope everyone is doing great in this quarantine and this time period that we're living in. Make sure that everyone's doing staying safe and hopefully in getting the most they can out of their time and doing the best that they can in this new situation that we see ourselves in. So we'll give it a few minutes and let a couple people join, and then we'll get right into the topic. All right, got about 5 people coming in. That's awesome. Hope everyone is doing great. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button, guys. Today's topic is really, really something that if I would have known what I know now, I would have loved for somebody to share that with me so that I wouldn't have had to spend so much extra money and time and effort than I did with my previous car. What's going on, ZL1 for Play? How you guys doing? I'm going to give it a few more seconds here. Quick question from Diego P. How easy is the install of the American Authority rear diffuser? So the American Authority rear diffuser is not too bad. You do have a lot of people say you don't need to remove the rear bumper, but I find it so much easier removing the rear bumper. And removing the rear bumper is so easy. It's really, really simple. Just remove all the screws and just pop everything right off. Not too difficult. The hardest part about the American Authority, and I'm sure any other aftermarket ZL1 style diffusers, is going to be getting the side part wrapped over your rear bumper. Because as you know, the ZL1 has an extension that goes all the way across to the front of the rear fender liner. And that piece, getting it to all kind of jump over the fender and sit well and still clip in, that is what's difficult. But you can easily do it. I've got a video on my YouTube channel that I showed it just how I did all that. So it's not too difficult at all, Diego. And it's a great, everything fit pretty well. There might be just a tiny little gap here or there, but it's not noticeable one bit. And I've had it on the car for a long time, and paint quality is great. Everything is great on it. All right, so we've got about 7 people on. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right into the topic, guys. And that is, how can you pick the right performance shop for your build? And coming from a guy that's already on his, probably this will be my 2nd car that I build, really diving in and building. Let me tell you, I had a lot of issues with my first build. For those of you guys that might be new to my channel, I originally had a Pontiac G8, and that was my very first car. I got out of high school, and I started building that car and doing all the work myself for the most part. I installed the long tube headers myself, cold air intake. I even did a nitrous kit on it for a while. But then when it finally came time to do the bigger, heavier modifications, cam, boost, and all that, I started outsourcing my work to a performance shop. There's many. Here in Houston, we've got a lot of many. What's going on, Jack? Here in Houston, we have a bunch of performance shops ranging from, very, very high level, high named, big name shops to very unknown shops and everything in between. So obviously, when I started building my G8, my very first car, I was very new to having performance shops do my work. And I looked towards familiarity. one of the key things and things that you want to know about a performance shop, and the number one thing you want to know about a performance shop, is its reputation and how good they are, what kind of references they have. So, but aside from that, and I'll dive in a little bit more on those two topics, you really want to find a shop that has experience working with your cars. Now, that is one key factor, but it isn't everything. You have to have all of these points together for it to be something that I would say, let's go ahead and get my work done. There's a very big saying within the car modding community that talks about the three things, and usually you can only get two out of the three, and that is, I believe it's fast, reliable, and is it cost effective, I believe. So if you want something to be fast, you can make it cost effective, but it won't be reliable. If you want something reliable, you can make it fast, but it won't be cost effective. And if you want something that's cost effective, you can make it reliable, but it won't be fast. So keep that in mind, guys. So let's go down the list of kind of all the things that you should keep an eye out for when you're picking out a performance shop. Again, the number one thing to look out for when you're researching for a performance shop is its reputation. Luckily, we're living in a time of the internet and the connection of all things and social media, and you basically are able to find as much information as you want, and you can go down a rabbit hole if you really wanted to. But get a good reputation is one. Two, has the shop worked on your type of vehicle before? What are their knowledge on those kind of vehicles? That's number two. Three, how do they communicate? And you can find this out through references and all kinds of stuff. What is their process like? How do they accept cars? Is their shop always full? How long is the wait time? How, things like that. Do they just keep your car at the shop and not work on it for a few weeks, or are they running an efficient operation where you might have your car ready to go in, but they don't take it until a certain time? All that stuff. Basically, how do they run their operation? Those are the main things that you want to look at when you're picking out a shop. And then the final one, number five, I would say, is how much are they charging? What is their price point? Because of course we've got very high-end shops, and then there's shops that are on the very much low end and everything in between. And you don't necessarily always have to go for the most expensive, but a big rule of thumb is you generally do not go for the least expensive unless they meet all the other qualifications, and then that's something you can try. But it's really hard to meet all the other qualifications and still be one of the cheaper options, because of course it's not about, if you meet all these qualifications, then your time and your value is much higher than many others, so you're going to be more higher costly. So, and David, so yes, again, the reputation, number one, their customer service, how they run their operations, number two, their familiarity with cars, how well they know and how many cars they built that are similar to yours, their familiarity with the modifications that you want to do. Some shops have do nothing but, let's say, superchargers. There's shops that do a lot of pro chargers. There's some that do both of them, and they can do both really well. You obviously don't, if a shop only has experience working on a supercharger, you more than likely do not want to get him a car and tell him, throw this pro charger on, because they're two different setups and they're two different ways of building and assembling. And whenever you get to trying something new, yes, some shops are very skilled and can do it, but most are not going to be that way. And so, like I said, you got to pick two out of the three. And unfortunately, it's going to more than likely, if you want reliable you also want fast, you're not going to be very ineffective. So those are how you guys are going to pick a chop. Now, in my experience, whenever I got the Camaro and decided I was going to do the heads and cam, I looked at a lot of different variables. I saw first and foremost, I looked at a few shops that I wanted to work with. The first one was J-Rod Speed Shop, which is got very, very good reputation. They are by far really well known here in Houston, and everyone that goes to him has nothing but good things to say. Two, I actually like the way they run their operation. They don't have a bajillion cars just sitting out there waiting to get worked on. They work by appointment only, and you don't take your car to them until they are ready. Even if you set up the appointment, you basically tell them, hey, this is what I want to do with the car. Yes, we'll do it, but we can't do it right now. Bring it in 2 weeks. Perfect. Because that's kind of a good operation to run. You don't want to have a bunch of cars just sitting out there. So they're working on the cars and moving things, and they have really good communication. But they are on, I would say, a little bit on the higher end of the pricing. So I really liked their operation. I liked how they ran. I liked the reputation. And they also did really good work and had experience with my Camaro, with the 6th-gen Camaro. So they were great. Unfortunately, they are out in Rosenberg, which from my location is about 50 minutes out, 40 minutes out. So it's a little farther away. And of course, that shouldn't really be too much of an issue if you really want to go to a good car shop. But luckily, we're in Houston, and there's a lot of other shops. And so I decided, and I never really thought of Excessive Racing Engines, the shop that I'm using currently, as a shop that I would go take my car to. But when I first got the car, I was going through trying to go find a dyno, and I noticed they had a dyno. And so I called them up, and they're just down the street from me, probably maybe not even 10 minutes away, really close by. I called them up, asked them about a dyno time, and they said, hey, we're a little busy right now. We've got a few cars coming in and out, but we can definitely set you up for this certain day an appointment. Perfect. They held their end of the bargain on the appointment date. I was able to go there and work, get there, and didn't have any delays. Everything was great, and the experience was really great. Once there, of course, I got to meet the owner. I got to talk with him, and I got to see everything that they're working on. And they do have a lot of cars at their shop. So they're very big on Corvettes. And when I was there, they had already worked on a lot of ZL1s as well, and a few 6th-gen Camaros and 5th-gen Camaros. So their shop was really full. But one thing I noticed was a lot of those cars were out-of-town cars. They do a lot of work for cars that get shipped in from other places to get them worked on for them. They also have an engine shop area that by far was very clean. They had all the stuff really organized, and they actually build the engines for a few of the Hennessy performance cars. So Hennessy outsources their engines to Excessive Racing. There are at least a few of them. And so they've got an engine division, and then, of course, they've got the performance shop division, the install division, and all that. And so they were very busy and doing a lot of stuff. But when talking to them, the first thing I noticed was the way they ran their operation. It was very fluid. And when I asked them, hey, if I ever got to have work done to my car, is my car just going to be sitting out here? Or how do you guys handle people that are local that want to get their cars worked on? And the first thing they said was like, no, we wouldn't ask you to come in until we are ready to put the car on the lift. And so that is one big thing that you should definitely ask those performance shops is, guys, whenever I drop my car off, is it just going to be sitting there or is it not? Because I had experiences where I dropped my car off and it was not worked on for weeks. And it was very frustrating trying to call these people and ask them, what are you going to do? When are you going to do it? How's it going? What's the progress update? And all they tell you is like, oh, we're working on it, this and that. And I've got, my cousin or my friend that passes by that shop every day and says, man, your car's just been sitting out there and I haven't seen it moved at all in the last week or so. when the owner tells you, hey, no, it's actually being worked on and this and that. So that was very important to me. I like that. Secondly was, of course, the reputation. When I talked to Excessive Racing, I looked at the reviews. I looked at what people were saying about them, and a lot of people had really good things to say on the Corvette side of things. Everyone had really good things to say. I couldn't really find many bad things to be said about this performance shop. So that is why I decided to go with Excessive Racing engines. Their pricing was not as expensive as J-Rod Speed Shop, but it was still right up there. It was definitely not cheap. It wasn't one of the cheaper options for sure, but you do get what you pay for. And I think I did a really good job. As you guys have seen in my video when I picked the car up, everything was in its place. The hose routings, the wiring, everything was completely perfect. It sounded almost like, it looked like if it hadn't even been worked on. And of course, it had a full cam and heads installed. Yes, sir. So that, again, guys, is how you can pick a performance shop. So one thing that you can always look at is when you get to the performance shop, look around. If they have cars sitting outside, are they dusty? Are they dirty? Do they look like they haven't been moved in a long time? Maybe ask the shop owner, hey, man, what's up with that car? What's going on with that one? Because I understand there are sometimes people that just drop the car off at the performance shop and because they don't want it at their house and they're just waiting on parts or things like that. So definitely don't just kind of go by what you see. Ask questions. Ask them, hey, man, so what's going on with this car? Looks like it's been here for a while. And see what they respond. If they say, oh, yeah, the owner left it here, but, you know, he's still trying to save up the money to buy the parts or whatnot, and then, you know, that's understandable. Ask them about their appointment style. Whenever you decide to work on a car there, do you have to bring it and then have it basically be on a waiting list in line as they're coming in? Or is it an appointment style where once they finish with 2-3 cars and they have a bay open, they call you up and you can bring the car right in? All that is something you need to ask, because I've seen shops where they get there, you drop the car off, and they tell you, yeah, we're going to start working on it tomorrow. And then they do work on it for a little bit, but they're missing a part. They don't have parts in stock to help get everything correct, or other cars come in for smaller issues and they forget about working on your car and start working on the other cars, and then your car is just left halfway done. That I've seen before, and it's happened to me. And of course, that's not something we want. Which brings me to another point. Whenever your car is ready to get its work done, double check and make sure that all the parts have been ordered. So whenever I did my cam and head setup on my car, I actually purchased the head myself. So I had the heads and I put those in the trunk of the car. But Excessive Racing Engines ordered the whole cam kit. So before I even took the car to them and before they told me, hey, we're ready to get the car in, I called them up and asked them maybe a week before, hey, you know, it's all the parts here. And they said, yeah, we've got the package. And I actually went over to their shop and they showed me everything. They're like, yeah, man, we've got every piece here that we need and everything should be here. The car should not be down. There shouldn't be any missing pieces left. And one good thing about a bigger performance shop like Excessive Racing's, like J-Rod Speed Shop, and some of these more prepared shops is that they tend to have a lot of parts off the shelf ready to go in case you have some issues. One big point was my Camaro's ported heads. Whenever I did my Camaro, we put in new LS7 lifters and had the LS9 head or LT4 head gaskets, I believe, or LT1, LT4 head gaskets. And when we first started up, everything sounded great. But then Excessive Racing's noticed that there might have been a slight little tick, and they didn't want to take any chances. So they went ahead and pulled the heads back off, replaced all the lifters because they had them on the shelf ready to go. They've had multiple sets, replaced all the lifters, had the extra head gaskets, put the head gaskets back on, and then was able to bolt the heads back on. And they were able to get all that done. And the car, the sound kind of went away and everything was great. But if the shop wouldn't have been big enough or prepared enough and have those extra parts laying around, at least a lot of these serviceable parts, then my car would have been down for another probably week until they ordered more lifters and ordered another set of head gaskets. So all that is something else you also want to ask is, guys, do you guys have the head gaskets on the shelf in case something happens and you guys need to pull everything back off again? Do you guys have lifters, things like a lot of these little things that are prone to failure, you might have an issue when you install it. Do you guys have that stuff backups ready for customer cars? All that stuff is things that you can ask and find out and feel a lot better about it. And all that, again, comes at a cost. I mean, obviously, you're going to pay a little bit more, but everything is going to be great. And I've driven the car since I had the heads and cam, and besides the unfortunate accident that I had, the car is driven great and have had zero issues, perfect oil pressure, no leaks, and no seals, everything just on point. ZL14 Play says, that is why I do 2-hour drives one way for appointment only. Yes. And I pay all mods money 1 month up front, and labor will be paid as it rolls off the dyno. It will be there for the dyno runs. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is a very good way to do it. You want to be able to, and a lot of shops will work with you that way. That is a very good point you make, is if you take it to a shop, go ahead and pay the money for all the parts at least before they're actually going to start working on the car. That way the shop doesn't have any excuses as to why it's taking longer to get your car built. Sometimes people start doing just payments here or there, or they decide, I'm going to pay half now and then half later, but that half doesn't cover most of the parts, or they got to buy. Once they start tearing into the engine, they realize that we need some extra parts, and the owner's like, oh, I'll pay that at the end. Well, the shops are having to buy all these parts on their dime, and obviously they rather you pay for them so that they can get the work done faster. And so a shop will definitely take that into consideration as well. And one thing I liked about excessive racing engines as well, and why my cam and heads package ended up costing a little bit more, even though I had a Black Friday discount, was that as they were going through all the parts before I dropped the car off, they started noticing, okay, well, if we're going to be revving up to this high, are you sure you don't want to get this trunnion kit? That's not part of this basic cam package. If you do want it, it'll be this much. The upgraded lifters or the bigger upgraded head gaskets. If we're doing the ported heads, you're probably going to eventually do something else. Do you want to go ahead and go with the upgraded ARP head bolts? Yes, let's go ahead and do that. There's things that they go ahead and basically recommend to you before the car even gets there, because they know that it's something that should probably be done and would be a good upgrade to do, since you're already that far deep into the tearing apart of the engine. All of that is things that you want to take into consideration. Most shops might just be like, well, he just paid for this, that's all we're going to do. We're not even going to offer the extra added security or extra parts to them because we don't want to deal with any of that. Excessive Racing Engines understood that reliability was a key thing for me, and offered me and said, hey, before we bring the car in, we noticed you don't have this, and this. They recommended it. They didn't say I needed it, but they did recommend it, and I hadn't thought about it, and I'm glad that they did, because when they recommended it, I was like, you know what? That makes perfect sense. I want to be more reliable. Let me go ahead and get that extra cost in. All that stuff basically is things that you want to look out for. Siphon X, how's it going? I always buy my own parts, then bring them to the shop. It's just me. You can do that as well. You can definitely do that as well. My recommendation with that would be to double check and verify with the shop. Give them the parts list and tell them, look, this is everything I have. Is there anything that I'm missing? Anything that I might need to get apart from what I already have? Doing that will ensure that you don't have any back and forth, or the shop says, hey, man, you're missing this piece and we got to buy it now or whatnot, and end up causing delays to your project. So definitely you can always buy your own parts. And one thing I've experienced for myself was that for the most part, shops tend to be helpful when it comes to the parts pricing. They get a lot better pricing from dealers, because they're basically, I guess, dealers, high volume parts orders, so they can get some parts sometimes cheaper than we can from the consumer side of things. So not all shops will pass on those savings, but there are some that will, and you know, you can always talk to your shop about that. Siphon XL says, I save money and buy the parts myself since shops charge over $100 an hour for labor. Yep, a good performance shop is going to charge, and a good average price is $100 or more. And so, like I said, sometimes they get better deals, but they don't pass that parts savings on to the consumer. By the way, I sold my LS3 vet and picked up a nice Gen 2 Coyote with exhaust already done. Just need an intake and lund tune, and now I'll be Gucci. Also, it's a 6-speed manual. Dude, that's awesome. Congrats on the manual. Congrats on the Mustang. I think those are they're going to be pretty quick. Just get the intake, the 85, and the lund tune, and I mean, those things are flying. Congratulations on that car. So, anyways, guys, that is some of my, I guess, points on this performance shops and why you want to go one or not. Why would you want to go to one or another? If a shop tells you, hey, just bring it in, we'll take care of it, and you drive by the shop, you get there, you talk to the guy, and you see that they've got all the lifts taken up, and on top of that, they've got cars under the lifts, and they got cars outside, all sitting collecting dust. And you ask them about it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that one's got this work going on. This one's got this going on." And you basically look at it and see to yourself, "Man, you got about a month's worth of work to do here." And they tell you, "Yeah, just drop it off. You know, we'll get to it, or we'll work on it." Definitely run away from that shop. If you get to the shop and all you see is, you know, the older, maybe Gen 4, Gen 5 Camaros and LS stuff, and you have an LT1 engine, and you don't see any LT1 Gen 5 cars in the shops, and you don't see they don't have a reputation of building LT1 Gen 5 cars in the shop, definitely run away. So make sure that you see cars similar to yours when you get there. And then if they basically aren't able to give you an invoice right away that day that you get dropped off, then that's something else that I would turn around and run right away. ZL14 Play mentions, we went over all my options, and once I agreed to the mods, they emailed me the invoice with the list of all the mods. We discussed the date, and I'm locked in for 4/11/20. Yes, sir. Perfect way to do it. You go over it. They talk to you about it. You've got all the stuff invoiced. You're able to get basically a contract set up saying this is all the work that's going to be done. And now you've got a specific date when it's going to happen. And you know when it gets that time, all the parts should be there. Everything should be ready to go. I would recommend giving them a call a week ahead and just confirming that all the parts are in the shop or they're going to be delivered, so that when you do drop it off, since you are going to be driving 2 hours, that they already have everything ready to go and there shouldn't be any delays when the car's in the shop, because that is probably the most painful thing, is to get a call from a shop and say, hey man, yeah, so we were working on your car and something ended up breaking, or we realized that we were missing a certain piece. And so we're going to have to overnight it, or we got to order it, and it's going to take another 2-3 days. So your car's not going to be ready until, next week. So again, I've experienced that. I probably had that, the experience I had that due to that was more on my fault, because I bought a used Pro Charger kit and I thought the kit came with everything, and it didn't. But there was a lot of pieces missing in the Pro Charger kit, but the shop did not go over all the stuff that was provided, all the Pro Charger kit parts that I gave them, and realized that there was missing pieces. So they started working on the car, installing all the parts, doing all that work. And it wasn't until they got to a certain part during the procedure that they realized, oh, I don't have this part. Okay, well, they would call me up. Hey, man, we don't have this part. You can overnight it. All right. Boom. Overnight it, pay the extra money and all that. They install that part. They keep going through the procedure and realize, oh, now we're installing this piece and we don't have this piece either. Okay, we'll overnight it. I had to overnight about 3 or 4 different pieces of a Pro Charge kit directly from Pro Charger 4 different times. Not at one time, 4 different times, probably every other day during 1 week, because they would work on it and then realize something was missing and then go back again. And that was probably due to the lack of Pro Charger knowledge that this shop had. The shop probably didn't have any knowledge or experience working with Pro Chargers, installing Pro Chargers on cars. So they didn't know what they would be missing. A shop that has probably installed a dozen Pro Chargers would have been looking at all the pieces and been like, okay, hey man, you're missing this, you're missing that. You need to get this, you need to get that, before they even started working on the car at the very beginning. And so what should have taken 2 weeks to do ended up taking a month and a half. And so that's why, again, you want to go with good reputation and a shop that's familiar with your car and the mods that you want to be doing. Siphon X mentions, I think I want to enjoy the car with small mods this summer, then save up over the winter and go Whipple. That's a pretty good idea. I did that with my Camaro last year. I just kept it full bolt-ons, NA, and enjoyed that. And this year, my goal is to do the Nitrous kit, which I plan on hopefully starting the install tomorrow, and doing it over the weekend. I probably won't be spraying anytime soon, but I want to have everything, all the components already installed, all the wiring, all that. It's going to be very, very in-depth, so going to have to probably do multiple part series for the Nitrous kit, because there's a lot of pieces that need to all get put together, from the actual nitrous system to the dedicated fuel system to all the controllers and the wiring. So we'll see how that works out and just how long it takes me to do it, but I'll be posting those videos out in the next few weeks, and hopefully you guys are able to learn a little bit of how to install Nitrous kits, or how not to install Nitrous kits, and what to expect and what you can avoid that I'll probably end up doing. Not a fan of turbos myself. Superchargers where it's at. Siphon X, I think superchargers are probably for street driving the best. When you're driving on the street, for the most part, I mean, the instant torque of a supercharger is going to be so much more fun than the spool of a turbo. Although turbos and like Pro Chargers sound really good when they blow off valves, go off. So I don't know, but you can go with smaller turbos that are spooled just as quickly. So it's kind of hit or miss. They are estimating 740 to 760 wheel horsepower with the setup. Shane said the boost will be the final factor in the end of the total horsepower. That is going to be one very fun ride. I believe Jack and his ZL1 is somewhere around that same 750 range, and his car moves, so it's going to be really, really fun. Enjoy it. I would love to be able to get up to those 700s with my LT1, but without building it, I do not feel comfortable doing that, so I won't be doing that. I'm more of a street race guy. Manual on a drag strip isn't fun trying to launch. Agreed, which is why I have never taken the Mach 1 to the racetrack. I don't plan on taking the Mach 1 to the drag strip. And of course, the Mach 1, there's just not much modifying you can do. I mean, those cars are not fast. It is a 4-valve, but I mean, it just takes a lot of money to make those cars fast. So that is why I haven't modded it, and it's just kind of sitting there. I drive it every now and then and just cruise it and enjoy shifting gears. All right, guys. Well, there you have it. That is why some of the do's and don'ts for performance shops. I hope you guys enjoyed it and maybe agree with some of my points. Maybe you don't agree. But needless to say, that is just from my experience and what I feel you should definitely be looking out for. For those of you 6 here, if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them for the next few minutes. If not, then I'll be probably logging out here in the next 5 or 6 minutes. By the way, if you guys haven't checked out my video that I just posted today on the black tips, go ahead and check that out. I decided to shadow chrome, or you do black chrome on my exhaust tips, and it made such a big difference on the car. I mean, by far, I believe one of the biggest dramatic changes to the rear end besides the wing. So the whole back end of the car is a completely different view now. So if you guys have any questions, I'm open to a few more questions, and we'll see how it goes. Yes, sir. The shadow chrome feels really nice. Again, I was going for that like black chrome look from like the Mercedes AMGs, and I think I nailed it on the dot because it looks really nice. I am very personally happy with how it looked. Now, visually wise, guys, think I'm pretty much done with the car. I do have a final kind of wrap to do, which should be here maybe in the next 2 months or so. I'll start working on it. Kind of want to try to do it myself. So we'll see how that goes. It's not a full car wrap or anything. I'm not changing the color of it, but I am adding a type of design to the whole car, which I think is going to be pretty legit. And we'll just see how well I can do, and if I can do it right myself. It's not going to be too complicated, but obviously it's going to be pretty different. So we'll see how it goes and see how I kind of navigate it, but I think it's going to look really good. And there's a few like kind of logos and things that I want to do to it that I'm going to have to go with a shop to print those out for me, but I'm going to do most of it myself. 014 Play, thank you, man. I thank you. I really appreciate it. My 5.0 is a dark gray. I want yellow calipers and shadow chrome exhaust tips and shadow black GTR 350R spoiler. That would look really nice, really nice. I know. I think Rush Shift. If you guys have seen that channel, if you guys haven't, I believe it's called Rush Shift. He's a guy out in California. He's actually here around for 2K, but he's got a SRT Challenger, and he has a Mustang GT, and his is, I believe, the same kind of dark gray and has yellow accents with the Whipple and all that, and that car looks really nice. Black chrome wheels would be sweet. Yeah, man, it would look really nice. I've got the gloss black wheels right now, and of course I've got my weld wheels, which are black with the chrome lip. That's really going to be the only time you're going to see chrome on the cars, with the chrome lip. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. I don't want to do a permanent finish on that chrome lip, but maybe I might just gloss out that chrome. Who knows? I think it looks nice with that chrome accent on the drag pack wheels. So for those of you guys that are on, you guys have any questions or any type of topic that you guys would like to talk about for the next few minutes? And if not, then I've got about maybe 1 or 2 more minutes left, and I'll be signing out. $640 to $670 to the wheel. Okay. Have you raced and built 10R80 GTs? Have you raced any built 10R80 GTs? I haven't actually raced them directly, but I've been at the track when there's been other bolt-on 10R80s at the track, and every single time I've been out there, I've looked at my times and compared them to theirs, and my car's been trapping and running faster. So that was before I did the heads and cam. So now with the heads and cam, personally, to be honest, I don't think there's any 10R80 Mustang GTs that are just full bolt-ons that would be able to kind of keep up with the Camaro with the heads and the cam. So I think if I would have been able to race Stang Mode's car before he did, I believe now he's got the Odin supercharger on it. I think I would have been able to beat it. Yeah, so Stang Mode ran a 10.9 in really amazing good DA weather, and he had his full seats removed. He had a bunch of like weight reduction stuff, and the car did really well. But again, now that I've got the heads and the cam, I don't think there's any Mustangs that would be able to hang. Now Stang Mode ran a 10.9, and he did that with launch control. So I think he was able to do like rev it up to like 3,000 let off on launch control, which really helped. But I think whenever he would just leave off of just like foot braking, it was running in the low 11s, similar to the way mine was before. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, his car is really quick. It's one of the faster GTs that I've seen, at least here in Houston. Most bolt-on GTs would run in the mid to low 11s, which is where my Camaro was at before the heads and the cam. So yeah, personally, yeah, I don't think any GTs would stand or be close runs with the Camaro the way it sits now. Anybody else got other questions? All right, guys. Well, that is going to conclude today's quarantine car talk. I hope you guys enjoyed the topic, and I won't be doing any this weekend, but I will go ahead and schedule one for next Monday. Again, Monday through Friday, at least during this time. I would love to kind of give you guys at least a few half-hour to an hour worth of just decompressing and talking about something that we all love, and hopefully get our minds off of everything that's going on around the world. And hope everyone stays safe, and I'll see you guys on Monday.